Is it working? Live! Oh my gosh, it's working! Okay, I think
There you are.
Maybe.
No.
Do you see me?
Just keep acting like you're there.
Right? Does anyone see me? Can you hear me talking? Is anyone here from Brazil? I'm sorry, I got distracted. That's gonna, wow. Okay, let's see. Let's see if anyone can see me. Has it started? Well, that's not a good sign. Why can't I get video? You know what? Maybe there's a small delay.
Why does it seem to think? Oh, there you are. It's up.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I was up for a second.
I don't think you want that running on 2 machines.
Okay, but you're up again.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. So at the very least, I can see me on the other computer. So we're just gonna do this and say that it works. Looks like something is going on. Oh, that's a good sign. All right. Anybody else? I see you. Oh, yay. Okay. Okay, so we can start. Let me shut that out. Okay, so, yay, you guys are here. And, oh, you know what? You have to push the play button to make it start. I should say that. Marlena, can you send a tweet out that says?
Yes, done.
Okay, awesome. That's Marlena.
Hello.
She's fantastic. She's my publicist, and she will be traveling with me because I cannot be expected to go any place without a chaperone. And so when she found out I was going to have a party here, she was like, I will come. I will help you. I will pour the alcohol and hold your hair back when you're throwing up later, which is fantastic. And she even brought her husband, and it's fantastic, wonderful. So, first off, thank you so much for being here. Whether you're here live, which is fantastic, or if you're watching it later, or if it's 3 o'clock in the morning, wherever you are, like, bless you, because I wouldn't be up at 3 o'clock in the morning to watch this. I mean, I totally would. I totally would. I also wanted to say thank you because the feedback that I have gotten on this book today has been extraordinary. And you think as a writer I would have a good word. I don't have one. Brilliant, amazing, shocking. The feedback has been so fantastic of not only people who understand what it's like to deal with mental illness and who have said, oh, you nailed this part. This is what I wanted to explain to other people. And I don't want to say more importantly, but wonderfully, so many people who don't understand mental illness at all because they've never had to deal with it and are saying, oh, this helped me to understand my wife or my husband or my daughter or my son. And that's exactly the reason why I wrote this, is so that it would kind of be a roadmap so everybody could say, oh, we're all fucked up. You know, we're all equally fucked up in our own specific way. And that's okay. And that in some ways, it can be really great when it's not awful, which sometimes it is. So that's the first part, the thank you. The second part is that I'm going to do a reading. This is really scary for a couple of different reasons. The first one is that I'm going to read a chapter which is a little frightening, and if you haven't read the book yet, which is okay because Amazon just delivered mine like an hour ago, so thanks a lot, Amazon. But guess what? The one I bought from the indie bookstore, it got here on time. Just saying, I still love you, Amazon. Please don't say mean things about me. But the thing about it is that on my blog, I've been pretty upfront about a lot of the mental issues that I deal with, but I have not been completely upfront about some of the things that I deal with, and some of them are a little scarier. And I was very afraid that when I wrote this, that people would run away, because the stigma of having depression and anxiety is still there, but there's a little less. But there's some things that I shared here that are maybe not things that you're particularly comfortable with or that you are aware of. And so I'm just gonna hope that this is gonna work well and that you're gonna like it. The other thing that I'm a little bit worried about is I've never read this out loud. And so that's, yeah, I mean, I've read it, obviously, I wrote it, but I've never read it out loud, and now I'm reading it to, oh my gosh, 1,444 of you. Hello. Hello, America and Canada and, I don't know, Italy, but I don't know where you are. Wherever you are, welcome. So I'm going to read 2 chapters from Furiously Happy. And the first chapter is the first chapter, which I'm going to skip over the disclaimers and the preamble, and it's not a preamble, whatever it's called. And it's a little serious and it's a little funny, and then we'll go into another one that's a little bit more funny. And this is going to be weird because I'm not going to hear any laughter, and so it's just going to be awkward. So please laugh very loudly in your own home. Also, you should be drinking. If you have a problem with alcohol, try cocaine. No, don't do that. Sorry, I've been drinking. If you have a problem with alcohol, drink water, because water is very good for you. It's very healthy. And I was drinking water earlier. There's nothing wrong with water. I am now drinking Unicorn Menses. There's not a sparkler. There's supposed to be a sparkler in here. And Victor was like, you can't put a sparkler in something that has alcohol in it because science and explosions, or I don't know. What I got from this is that Victor's a big spoil sport, pretty much, because it would be nice if there was some sort of a flash of blinding light and then this whole place caught on fire, but in an entertaining way. Also, I forgot to mention that I do have special guests, Totes My Goats, aka Vincent Van Goat, also Rory 2, who is up there. This one there, that's Rory 1. There's 2 of them. If you've read the book, you kind of know. And then there's my beaver right there. Not the one you're thinking of, that one. And if you don't know the story about my beaver, then you did not see when I did a live streaming video of my beaver, which was, I think, very embarrassing, but also wonderful. So, but you can look at that online. So we're going to start this reading. The first ever reading of Furiously Happy. Furiously happy, dangerously sad. You're not crazy. Stop calling yourself crazy, my mom says for the 11 billionth time. You're sensitive and a little odd and fucked up enough to require an assload of meds, I add. That's not crazy, my mom says as she turns back to scrubbing the dishes. You're not crazy and you need to stop saying that you are. It makes you sound like a lunatic. I laugh because this is a familiar argument. This is the same one that we have had a million times before. It's the same one that we will have a million times again, so I let it lie. And besides, she's technically right. I'm not technically crazy, but crazy is a much simpler way of labeling what I really am. According to the many shrinks that I've seen in the last 2 decades, I am a high-functioning depressive with severe anxiety disorder, moderate clinical depression, and mild self-harm issues that stem from an impulse control disorder. I have avoidant personality disorder, which is like social anxiety disorder on speed, and occasional depersonalization disorder, which makes me feel utterly detached from reality, but in less of a this LSD is awesome kind of way, and more of a I wonder what my face is doing right now, and it sure would be nice to feel emotions again sort of thing. I have rheumatoid arthritis and autoimmune issues, and sprinkled in like paprika over a mentally unbalanced deviled egg are things like mild OCD and trichotillomania, also called trich, the urge to pull one's hair out, which is always nice to end on because whenever people hear the word mania, they automatically back off and give you more room on crowded airplanes. Probably because you're not supposed to talk about having manias when you're on a crowded airplane. This is one of the many reasons why my husband Victor hates to fly with me. The other reason is that I often fly with taxidermied creatures as anxiety service animals. Basically, we don't travel a lot together because he doesn't understand awesomeness. You're not a maniac, my mom says in an aggravated voice. You just like to pull your hair. You even did it when you were little. It's soothing to you. It's like petting a kitten. I like to pull my hair out, I clarify. It's sort of different. That's why they call it a mania and not kitten petting disorder, which honestly would really suck to have because you would end up with a bunch of semi-bald kittens who would really hate you. My God, I hope I never get overly enthusiastic kitten fur pulling disorder. My mother sighs deeply, but this is exactly why I love having these conversations with her because she gives me perspective. It's also why she hates having these conversations with me, because I give her details. You are perfectly normal, my mom says, shaking her head as if even her body won't let her get away with this sort of lie. I laugh as I tug involuntarily at my hair. I have never been normal, and I think we both know that. My mom pauses for a moment, trying to think up another line of defense, but it's pretty hopeless. I have always been naturally anxious to ridiculous degrees. My earliest school memories of a field trip to a hospital when a doctor pulled out some blood samples and I immediately passed out right into a wall of thankfully empty bedpans. According to the other kids present, a teacher said, "Ignore her, she just wants attention." Then my head started bleeding and the doctor cracked open an ammonia capsule under my nose, which is a lot like being punched in the face by an invisible fist of stink. Honestly, I don't know why I passed out. My baseline of anxiety remained the same, but my subconscious was apparently so terrified that it decided that the safest place for me to be was to be fast asleep on a floor surrounded by bedpans. Which sort of shows why my body is an idiot, because forced narcolepsy is pretty much the worst defense ever. It's like the human version of playing possum, which is only helpful if bears are trying to eat you, because apparently if you lie down in front of bears, they're all, "What a badass, I attack her and she lays down to take a cat nap. I probably shouldn't fuck with her." This would be the start of a long and ridiculous period of my life, which shrinks label white coat syndrome. My family refers to it as "what the hell is wrong with Jenny syndrome," and I think my family was more accurate in this assessment because passing out when you see doctor's coats is just damn ridiculous and more than slightly embarrassing. Especially later on when you have to say, "Sorry I passed out on you. Apparently, I'm afraid of coats." To make things even worse, when I pass out, I tend to flail about on the floor and apparently I moan gutturally. Like a Frankenstein, according to my mom, who has witnessed this on several occasions. Other people might battle a subconscious fear of adversity or failure or being stoned to death, but my hidden phobia makes me faint at the sight of outerwear. I have passed out once at the optometrist, twice at the dentist office, and 2 horrifying times at the gynecologist's. The nice thing about passing out at the gynecologist, though, is that if you're already in the stirrups, you don't have very far to fall, unless, of course, you're like me and you flail about wildly while you're moaning and unconscious. It's pretty much the worst way to pass out with someone in your vagina. It's like having a really unattractive orgasm that you are not even awake for. I always remind my gynecologist that I might very loudly pass out during a pap smear, and then she usually grimly informs me that she didn't need me to remind her at all. Probably, my sister says, because most people don't make as much of a theatrical show about fainting. The really bad part about passing out at the gynecologist's is that you occasionally regain consciousness with an unexpected speculum inside your vagina, which is essentially the third worst way to wake up. The second worst way to wake up is at the gynecologist without a speculum inside of you because the gynecologist took it out when you passed out and now you have to start all over again, which is why I always tell my gynecologist that if I pass out when they're in my vagina, they should just take that opportunity to get everything out of the way while I'm out. The first worst way, by the way, to wake up is to find bears eating you because your body thought that the safest defense for you would be to sleep in front of bears. That playing possum bullshit almost never works. Not that I would know, because I would never pass out in front of bears, because that would be ridiculous. In fact, I've actually been known to run at bears to get good pictures of them. Instead, I pass out in front of coats, which, according to my brain, are the things that you really need to be concerned about. One time, I loudly lost consciousness at my veterinarian's office when he called my name. Apparently, my subconscious freaked out when I saw blood on the vet's coat, and then I abruptly passed out right on my cat. That's not a euphemism. I woke up shirtless in the lobby with a bunch of strangers and dogs looking down at me. Evidently, when I started moaning, the vet called an ambulance, and when the EMTs arrived, they claimed that they couldn't find my heartbeat, so they ripped open my shirt. Personally, I think they just wanted a cheap thrill. I think the dogs looking down on me agreed, as they seemed slightly embarrassed for me after watching the whole spectacle unfold. You can't really blame dogs because, first of all, who can look away from a train wreck like that? And secondly, dogs have no concept of modesty. Waking up shirtless with a bunch of concerned dogs staring at your bra because you're afraid of coats is about the 7th worst way to wake up, I mutter aloud to my mother. My mother replies non-committally, raising a single eyebrow. Well, okay, maybe you're not normal, she says grudgingly, but who wants to be normal? You're fine. You are perfectly fine. You are better than normal, even because you are so aware of what's wrong with you that you can recognize it and sort of fix it. I nod. She has a point, although the rest of the world might disagree with our definition of fixing it. When I was little, I fixed it by hiding from the world in my empty toy box whenever my undiagnosed anxiety got too unbearable. In high school, I fixed it by isolating myself from other people. In college, I fixed it with eating disorders, controlling what I ate to compensate for the lack of control that I felt from my emotions. And now, as an adult, I control it with medication and with shrink visits and with behavioral therapy. I control it by being painfully honest about just how crazy I am. I control it by allowing myself to hide in bathrooms and under tables during important events, and sometimes control me because I have no other choice. Sometimes I'm unable to get out of bed for a week at a time. Anxiety attacks are still an uncomfortable and terrifying part of my life. But after my furiously happy epiphany, I learned the importance of pushing through, knowing that one day soon I will be happy again. This is why I sneak into other people's bathrooms and haunted hotels and once accepted a job as a political czar who reports directly to a stray cat who sleeps at City Hall. I have staged live zombie apocalypse drills in crowded ballrooms. I've landed on aircraft carriers at sea. I once crowdfunded enough money to buy a taxidermied Pegasus. I am furiously happy. It's not a cure for mental illness. It's a weapon designed to counter it. It's a way to take back some of the joy that's robbed from you when you're crazy. You're not crazy, my mom says again, waving a wet plate at me. Stop saying you're crazy. People will think you're a lunatic. And it's true. They will. I Google the word lunatic on my phone and read her one of the definitions. Lunatic, noun, wildly or giddily foolish. My mom pauses, stares at me, and finally sighs in resignation, recognizing way too much of me in that definition. She says, shrugging thoughtfully as she turns back to the sink. So maybe crazy isn't so bad after all. I agree. Sometimes crazy is just right. Did it work?
It was so good. So good. Twitter agrees. The only thing is I think our Q&A is turned off on here.
Oh.
But I don't know how important that is. Twitter agrees.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Okay. Yay! I'm so glad you liked it. Oh my god, that was scary.
Amazing.
Oh, I'm gonna take a sip of the old unicorn. Oh, that's strong. Okay. Very strong unicorn. All right. So, I'm going to read another chapter. This one, because that one is a little, it's a little funny, but it had a lot of serious in it. And this one also has a little bit of serious, but it's really more sort of funny, or at least I hope you'll think it's funny.
And ask questions.
Oh yes, yes. And so we're after I'm done with this, we're gonna do like a Q&A. So if you have any questions, ask them. But I can't get the chat screen to work for some reason. That's on the like Google Plus chat screen thing. So if you have a question, just ask it on Twitter, and you can either use the hashtag FH, which stands for Furiously Happy, or you can just @ me directly, and then we'll see it here. Although if you @ me directly, nobody else is going to be able to see it unless they're following me too, which they probably are. If they're watching this, never mind. Just ignore me. Okay, so the second chapter I'm going to read you. Look, you don't even have to pay for this. How awesome is I should just read the whole book to you, right? That's fine. That's fine. You're going to have to send me money though. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. So the next chapter that I'm going to read to you, which is much shorter, and what is kind of nice about this chapter is I really thought that it would be cut, because the entire chapter, except for maybe one sentence, is a question. Like literally every single sentence ends with a question mark. You're not supposed to do that, but I did it. So the chapter is called I Left My Heart in San Francisco, but replaced San Francisco with Near the Lemur House and replaced heart with a sad question mark. You know when you're walking to the trash can at the zoo and you're holding something important in one hand and you have something to throw away in the other hand, and you're sort of distracted because you just realized the universal truth that everything in the world either is or isn't pandas, and you're trying to decide if that's an important epiphany or not, and it's so distracting that it's not until you're halfway back to the lemur house that you realize that you're still holding the garbage in your hand, and that you seem to have thrown your car keys in the trash. And then you run back to the trash can to find your keys, but apparently they have sunk to the bottom, and so you're bent over, hesitantly sifting through other people's garbage, and people are starting to stare at you, and you want to explain that you're not crazy, except that would be disingenuous because you are mentally ill, but it certainly wasn't your mental illness that caused you to throw your keys in the trash, and you don't appreciate their assumption. And you consider explaining that, but then you suspect that you might seem even more imbalanced if you start yelling at total strangers about judging your mental illness while you're digging through the garbage can at the zoo. And then you realize that you're going to have to use two hands to find your keys, so you look for a place to set down what's in your other hand, and you realize that you're still holding the trash that you went to throw away originally, and that it probably looks to others like you were digging through the trash and were particularly happy to retrieve the mostly eaten funnel cake that you just wanted to throw away before you actually got pulled into this mess. And then you move to throw it in the garbage, but you stop yourself because you realize that if you put it in the trash, you're just creating more stuff to sift through to find your keys. And so you stand there with one hand in the garbage while you stare indecisively at the funnel cake, which has stumped you. And then your husband comes back looking for you and is like, what in the hell are you doing? Why are you digging in the trash? And you say, I'm looking for my keys. And he's like, most women just store them in their purses. And you glare at him, but he's still saying, seriously, stop that. You look like a lunatic. And you say, I dropped my keys in here because I thought they were funnel cakes, so can you just help me? And then he stares at you with this speechless, baffled concern and shakes his head incredulously as he pulls out the car keys that you had apparently just left on the table at the lemur house. And you feel relieved for a second, but then you look in the garbage and think, then what did I throw in there? And you can't decide whether to keep looking because maybe it's important. And now you can't even say, I'm digging through the trash looking for my keys. And instead you have to say, I'm digging in the trash looking for something of mine I just threw away in there and I don't even know what it is. And no one can help because they'd be all, well, what does it look like? And you'd have to say, I have no idea. It'll be a surprise to all of us, I guess. But the crowd is getting bigger and larger, and so instead you let your husband pull you away, and you never find out what it was that you left in that trash can, and it haunts you forever because you let some random strangers shame you into not rolling up your sleeves and dumping the garbage can out on the sidewalk so that you could solve the mystery of what was I looking for. And then all the way home, you root through your purse desperately looking for something missing, but nothing is, and it drives you crazy, not knowing what the hell it was you left behind in the trash. And then your husband mumbles that maybe it was your dignity, and he has a point, But you explained that you remember it being heavy and substantial, so it was obviously not your dignity. And you explained that the only reason that you were distracted enough to throw away something that wasn't keys was that you had just discovered a mind-blowing universal truth. But then he looks at you expectantly and your mind goes blank and you can't remember what it is. And so now you've lost two important things that you don't even know what they are. So yeah, that's how my whole week has been. I do have a footnote here. I did finally remember the universal truth that everything in the world either is or isn't pandas. But when I told Victor, he was like, oh my God, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Why are you waking me up for this? And I had to apologize because honestly, no one is prepared for that level of brain melting epiphany when they're still half asleep. The next morning though, he still wasn't impressed and I tried to explain it, but he insisted it was rubbish. I think I got the last laugh though because my epiphany was just quoted in a published book and that's pretty damn impressive. The end. Oh my gosh, that was scary.
Some people are having a hard time on mobile, so we just gave them the link to the YouTube, which
awesome.
is running it.
Awesome.
So go on Twitter and find that. And people want to know if you're wearing pants.
Am I wearing pants? I am not wearing pants. I'm wearing pajamas. I have to make sure I don't knock the animals over. I am quite literally wearing, and I will be wearing this on tour as well. I'm wearing my robe and my dress and little pajamas. No pants. I am wearing the UK version of pants though. I do have under things on because that would be, I don't want to. So I don't know, it's probably too much information. I'm sure my grandparents are watching this. Hi, Granny. So
Ferris Mueller's tale is very popular on Twitter. Very popular.
Was it Ferris? I thought it was Raleigh. It might have been Ferris.
I think it was Ferris.
Thanks. Fucking cats. They always have to be. They're like, hey, look at me. I'm so popular. And they are. They're super popular.
How do you feel about tiaras? Asked Scottish Whiskey.
Tiaras. I am a very big fan of tiaras, except that I don't have enough hair to keep them in, and so they keep falling, and then it sort of feels like they're judging me because I'm like not fancy enough to be able to wear a tiara or tiara. I don't even know how to say it. Yeah, I would like it if they would like me, but they don't, and it makes me a little sad.
If you had to name a cat right now, I'm just going to read any good question I see. If you had to name a cat right now, what would you name it? And that cat is on fire.
If I had to name a cat right now, actually, when you read the book, you will know that I am currently looking for a very patriotic-looking cat who I can name the president, because I think it would be absolutely fantastic to go around the house looking for the president and have the president like end up in bed with you and you gotta clean up the president's shit, like, you know, and I think it would be fantastic. In fact, I wrote a little bit about the president and talked about this business idea I had with the president, and I haven't really showed it yet because I want you to read the book first and not be a spoiler. But if you look on Twitter and you've read the book, you might be able to find that I've already started this business. I don't know how to make money off of it, but it's fun. So yeah, so that's my little Easter egg. If you haven't read the book, you're gonna be like, what? Like even more than normal, even like to the point where you're just like, what? Is she drunk? And yeah, I am. I'm not sure what you expected.
Elizabeth no E, says, how do you find time to write and be creative when life is so crazy and hard sometimes?
That was a really good question.
Which I'm going to retweet. I'll retweet the ones that you're answering so people can see them.
Okay. Finding time to write, you know what, it's not so much finding time to write, it's finding, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say inspiration, but the strength, I guess, to write. And that sounds really crazy, especially because of the fact that I write ridiculous stuff. I'm not like coming up with beautiful prose and ballads, and I write crazy ass stuff that made, like that entire chapter was just a like run-on sentence. It is ridiculous that ended up in a book. But I have a really hard time writing, and it takes me, I mean, it's been 14 years to write 2 books. The problem that I have is that when I'm depressed, I don't have the strength to write. That was actually the reason why I came out and talked about the fact that I had depression, because what I would do is, because I knew that there would be weeks at a time when I just could not get out of bed, and my only focus would just be to survive the week until my chemicals, got back into balance. So I would have all these draft posts that I would write, and they were just these funny, ridiculous, silly things. And whenever I would get into a deep depression, I would post them, and it looked like that was me writing. And I would get these comments of people saying like, "Oh, you're so funny," and "What a fun life you have." And I felt like I was creating this false history, and that it was a lie, and it sort of was. And that's why I decided to kind of come out and say I struggle with anxiety and depression and issues. And I was shocked that not only did people not run away, which I sort of thought that they would, but instead they were the first people to say me too, and I thought I was the only one that was dealing with this. And there was something so amazingly freeing about saying, I'm kind of screwed up, and having people come and say, you're not alone. If you've read here long enough, you already know that there are a lot of people who are alive today, not because of anything that I wrote, but because the community on my blog is so strong. There are so many people out there saying, I thought I was the only one. I suffer from this too. And so many people saw this incredible response and thought, okay, well, if everyone feels like this, maybe I do need to get help. Maybe this is not normal. Maybe it's not okay to be miserable all the time. And maybe it's okay to ask for help. And there are a lot of people who are alive today because of that. And what's, I think, sort of even more amazing is that there are so many people who left a comment saying, I feel worthless, I feel miserable. And those people are the people who saved other people's lives and did it without even knowing, which I think says a lot about just the kindness of strangers, but also about the fact that we affect people in ways that we have no clue. So if you ever get to the point where you start to think, I'm miserable, I'm a failure, I'm a fraud, that's a normal thing to feel, and that is in most cases depression lying to you. And I totally get that, because I feel like that all the time, and I have to continually remind myself that it's not real, and that when I come out of this, I'm going to know that I'm worthwhile. And so you have to tell yourself that as well, because if I have to go through this, so do you, because that's just fair.
That was really good.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm the audience here, so I'm allowed to say it. You're just getting a lot of love right now on Twitter. A lot of other serious questions. I want to put in less serious ones in between.
Okay, I can do both.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, how about Brooke wants to know if you want to come over for meatloaf and stuffing, and Totes is invited. I'll tell you, there's a lot of questions about if Totes is coming on tour, so you might want to address the Totes tour situation.
Let's see. I do like, I like the idea of meatloaf and stuffing, except is that meatloaf stuffing? Like, it kind of feels like, isn't meatloaf just like stuffing that you put meat? I don't know how meat works, or stuffing. So I like meatloaf and mashed potatoes inside those rolls that you get at Golden Corral. Oh my God, it's so good. I'm hungry now. So let's see. Oh, what was my other question? So yeah, I would totally try that.
Totes on tour.
Oh, Totes.
Tour Totes.
Yes. Totes on tour. I actually have contacted the airport to see if I bought a ticket for him because he would take up a seat, obviously. And I was like, if I buy a ticket for him, can he ride with me? And apparently there's some sort of an issue with having the big stabby horns. And I explained that he's sort of my service animal, you know, because I have anxiety issues, and I was, you know, I looked into getting a cat anxiety animal, and they were like, you can't get cats. Cats aren't good anxiety animals, which I don't know where that came from, but they don't count. But they were like, you can have a dog or you can have a pony, which is a weird choice, because why would you rather I bring a pony? Then he's not going to do anything. Like, no, he's not. I mean, he might read a book. He could scratch a cornea out. Now that I think about it, but so could a pony.
Anything could.
Oh my god!
If you try hard enough.
Right? Exactly. Actually, I have a friend who owns. Well, she doesn't own, but she has a wildlife refuge, and it's for primates. And I was like, well, maybe I could borrow one of her monkeys, and that could, you know. And she was like, you are exactly the person I'm saving these monkeys from, which, like, a little hurtful, but you know, whatever. You know, that same person, and I've been meaning to do this forever. Oh, we should go do this tonight. Okay. So she lives really close to me, and she has a I want to say a monkey farm. That's not it. It's a primate rescue place, and it's not. You can't actually go there. It's not like open to the public. And she there are super famous monkeys there, and she gets like the monkeys that were like on TV, and then they end up, you know, like, I don't know, outliving. They're not good at. They're eating people's faces. I don't know what they're doing. They're doing stuff, and so she's like, they can come live with me, whatever. And so she has this big primate sanctuary thing. And I was like, oh, I want to go. And then they're like, that we're not here to entertain people. We're here to save primates, which is like really admirable. But I still wanted to go play with the monkeys. And so I went online and I saw that they had like a wish list, like an Amazon wish list. And one of the things that they wanted was, what is that thing called? A disco ball, because apparently monkeys like disco balls. I don't know. So I'm like, all right. So I get on it. This was like a year ago, and I write, hey, monkeys, this is for you. And also I was going to buy them some roller skates, because some of them used to be roller skating monkeys, like for real. And then they were like, we don't let the monkeys roller skate. Like that was not good for them. Like you don't use monkeys for entertainment. And I was like, maybe they enjoyed roller skating. I love roller skating. But I don't know, maybe they don't. But they liked the disco ball. And so then once I sent it, they were like, okay, if you want to come see the monkeys, you can. But then I never have, because I just feel bad for them not being able to roller skate anymore. But you know, I've had enough to drink now that I may call them and be like, hey, can I come see your monkeys? Is it too late? Right?
Yeah.
Okay. We might hear it. Follow us on Instagram. Who knows what's going to happen? Actually, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to fall asleep. That's what's going to happen.
Just Me wants to know how you explain your dark times to Haley.
Oh, that is a really good question. When she was little, I would say that I was sick, and she understood that. And what I always try to do is, I very often I can't work, I can't write, I can't do really anything. But the one thing that I always make myself do is to give Haley really good memories of me, even when I'm having a really hard time. So I've found ways that I can still be functional and create good memories with her. And those things are sitting on the couch and watching Doctor Who, or what is it, Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries, or reading, or, you know, doing things where I don't have to have a lot of energy, and I don't necessarily have to have a lot of interactions, but she's still gonna feel that closeness. As she's gotten a little bit older, she has started to understand a little bit more. I've won like some awards for the work that I've done with ending the stigma of mental illness and stuff, and so she sees that stuff around, and she's like, what's this all about? And so I've tried to explain it to her in a very I think, a fairly simple kind of way of instead of using the word depression, I just say that I get sad and exhausted, and that's part of a sickness. And with anxiety, I say, I get scared. I used to be very afraid that Haley would pick up and develop the same kind of things that I did. And I realized that my sister and I were raised exactly the same way, and we could not be more different, except that she does have my exact sense of humor. In fact, if I died, she could probably take over my blog and nobody would know. But aside from that, she is nothing like me. And my daughter is exactly like her. So I really believe that I don't think that you can necessarily give your kid your disorders. I think they are born the way that they are. And sometimes, they're born with some great things, and sometimes they're born with some not so great things. And the best thing that you can do is just try to get those great things to just, encourage them and help them to grow. But I think the most important thing is just being really honest with her, and whenever she has questions, answering them straight up. When I was a kid, there was mental illness in my family, and I don't really talk so much about it because I kind of feel like other people's stories, that's their story to deal with. But I think that as a child, I was sort of protected from that, and not really told that some of the issues go back to mental illness, and I didn't really understand them. And then when I realized I had mental illness, it was such a relief, because I was like, oh, there's a reason. Now I understand it. So I don't think that it's possible to be too honest, as long as you're also being comforting and letting your kid know that that they come first and that they will always be safe.
Now for something completely different.
Okay.
Here from one
right.
to the other. Jolie, who I actually feel like we already talked about once, but here's another good question. What's the craziest thing you dressed up for as Halloween?
Oh my gosh, good question. Let's see. I think I dressed up as a vagina once, which was weird, but it worked. Not the vagina. It wasn't functional, but it looked okay. Whatever. I think probably my favorite Halloween costume was when we all dressed up as Doctor Who characters, and Victor was he number 10? I think he was 10. And Haley was the TARDIS, maybe? And I was Clara when she was stuck in the Dalek, and it was where only somebody who really knows Doctor Who would be able to look at it and go, and then everybody else would be like, what? It was like one episode, Clara. It wasn't even but it was fun, because everybody was like, what are you doing? Why are you wearing some sort of like a Dalek outfit with chains, and then you've got something that says like the souffle is ruined, and like, what are you doing? And I thought it was lovely. For the 2 people who got it, 2 people were like, oh, I know exactly who you are. And I was like, we're friends forever.
I'm sorry, I can't find who it is now, but someone did suggest, if you want to travel with Toads, to put tennis balls on his horns.
That's just
kind of a brilliant. I'll find you first and I'll retweet you. I'm sorry.
Oh my God, that's so smart.
Yeah, it's really good.
I love that.
Oh, and then someone else said, Elizabeth K. Green, who I found, said you could put wine corks on the pointy parts.
Wine corks. Oh, and that would be awesome too, because then when I wanted something to drink, I have I don't know if every place is like that, but when you're in the airplane and you order like booze, which first of all, they don't even have good booze anymore. It's all like, there's whiskey. I'm like, I don't want whiskey. I want like a wine cooler, which would be cheaper. Why are you? Like, here's the fanciest one, and I'm like, just give me like Boone's Farm, or I don't know. But so whenever I order a drink, I don't know if it's just, they may look at me and be like, that girl's got a problem. But they always they unscrew it and then they hand it to me, and they won't let me have the top. And I'm like, but I want the top because I'm not going to finish this, because I am a cheap drunk. Like this much alcohol, like that I've still got all this, and I'm a little buzzed. but and I'm like, can I have the top back so that I can screw it back on so I can hat? And they're like, no, you can't take that with you. You're not, we can't trust you. We can't. And I don't know, is that everybody? Is then they're like, oh yeah, that's a rule, but it doesn't feel like it's a rule. It feels like they just don't like me. But it would be nice, I guess, if I had the corkscrews, because then I could cork my own, which, see what's coming, Delta?
Who's your favorite doctor? Ask Christina Collett.
Oh my gosh, David Tennant, like 100%. Yes, my psychiatrist. Victor just said, "You're shrink," and he's got a point. That's definitely the one that I know. Oh my gosh, I'm Dr. Donna all the way. It never got better than Dr. Donna.
You have a lot of just very nice things to say about you and Haley. People want to know if Rory 2 has his own name, or if he's always going to live in the shadow of Rory 1.
Rory 2 does not. He's Rory 2. Rory 1. I didn't actually name either one of them, but what I think is really fantastic is that when I did the Where's Rory thing, and people printed out, paper or cardboard Rorys and took them everywhere. That my very favorite Where's Rory was someone brought a cardboard Rory to Rory from Doctor Who, and he's like holding it, like, what in the fuck is going on here? He just looks so shell-shocked, and it is fantastic. Not only because of the names, but also because he's a really big collector of taxidermy, so he'd probably really want it if he, I didn't name him Jeremy, the guy who made Totes and who made both Rorys. He was the one who named Rory, and it stuck. And then when Rory, after I bought him, he had like a terrible accident when he went to Las Vegas, and he lost like all of his fingers and one of his arms and like all of his toes. And Jeremy was like, this raccoon's fucked. You can't have this raccoon. And I was like, no, I love him. And he was like, he's super messed up. Like, I'll make you another one. And he only does like roadkill. And so he was like, I have another raccoon in the freezer, and he's a little older. Beggars can't be choosers when it comes to roadkill. But I'll make him with like wires inside of him so that he can more easily ride on the cats, because that's what they do. As you can tell from Rory 2, who is riding on Totes the Goats, they ride around on the cats. The cats are not happy about this, but wait, I forgot what I was talking about. Sorry. So then I was like, how bad is Rory? Like, is he real messed up? Like, how's his face? And he was like, he's goddamn happy. He's ecstatic. And I was like, I need to have him. This broken, messed up raccoon is my Patronus. And so he was like, all right, but he's going to be missing a bunch of stuff. And then I'll make you this other one. And so I was like, okay, I'll buy them both, whatever. And then my dad actually re-sculpted all the hands, because I was like, well, I'll buy some little like Wolverine claws, and it'll be like Wolverine, or like, I don't know, I'll come up with something. And my dad was like, ugh, I'll fix it for you. And he's a taxidermist, so he did really well. Hold on, I'll show you. He's so lippy. Look, he's so happy. He's like, hello, everybody. Oh my gosh. He's the best. He will, when we're in bed at night, he will crawl over, like when Victor's in bed, and he'll like crawl over the side of the bed and be like, hello, mister, I love you so much. And Victor's not into it, which makes me sad, because he's missing out. Because look, he has so much love to give. Oh.
He does.
He's so happy. He's like, oh, you guys showed up. And that's what I'm saying too. Look, there's 1,500 of you. There's 1,600. I love you guys. So does he.
Jennifer Amescato wants to know, if you weren't an author, what would you be, or do you have a dream job?
If I was not an author, I would be a drug addict. Because this is what I do for therapy. And I am pretty sure that bad things would probably have happened to me had I not been able to find writing. I've written forever. since I was a kid, especially with anxiety disorder. As a child, I didn't have any friends and I didn't have a way to communicate. And so I wrote like from the moment that I could talk. I remember reading and writing, and all my best friends were the characters of books, and I loved them. If I wasn't an author, I would just do whatever I fell into, probably. Before this, I worked at a religious hospital, nonprofit religious hospital in human resources, teaching people how to be appropriate, which is pretty much it's almost a joke. I did that for like 10 years. And then before that, I was a telemarketer, which is not fun. And I was like, oh my God, I hate this job so much. Everybody's yelling at me all the time. This is awful, but I had to do it because I worked at night because that was the only way I could pay for college. And I was like, oh my God, I have to like do really well so that I can get promoted to nighttime supervisor so that I can get off these phones, because this is just giving me like super panic attacks. And so after like a month, I got promoted and I was like, oh, that's so awesome. And then I realized that whenever people are really pissed, guess who they want to talk to? They want to talk to the supervisor. It was a terrible, terrible business choice. I did not last very long there until I was like, maybe I could try anything else. And that's actually when I went to HR, because I was at that same company and I was like, what can I do where I don't have to be on the phone? I'll do HR. That sounds like fun. And it is fun because you get to know like all the worst stories and like, oh my God, seriously, if you ever have to deal with somebody in your business and they're a total asshole, know that everyone in HR knows something awful about them. And that is a great equalizer. And what's really wonderful is a manager would come in and they would be, and like, there were great people who worked there and you'd be like, oh, I love them. But then sometimes they would come in and you'd be like, you're a dick. And everybody knew it, but you couldn't say it out loud. We all knew it. And you would always know like all their hidden secrets and all their stuff, and you could just give them that look like, what's your problem? What's your problem? Yeah, you think everybody else is being an asshole? No, it's you. But it kind of sucked because you couldn't tell anybody else, which was sort of depressing, because people would come in and they'd be like, oh, my manager's so awful, and you had to be like, oh, you really have to work and different personality and blah, blah, blah. And you just wanted to be like, oh, that guy's a fucker. Like, oh my God, seriously, I hate that guy. That guy, we all hate him, seriously. But you can't do that because you have to be professional.
So, speaking of being professional, 2 very professional questions.
Yes.
Well, one a question. One is that we're about to retweet all your tour dates so that everyone knows where they can actually see you in person. So go on your Twitter for that. And then Sherry Northcutt, I'm about to retweet her, said, what was it like recording the audiobook, and are there bonus features on the audiobook?
Ooh, good question. Let's see. Doing the audiobook was slightly less scary than the first time, which I wrote about in Furiously Happy. It was weird because the place that I was doing the recording, the producer, he was lovely. I said something about like, didn't Kanye record here? And this tiny little like one, booth kind of thing. And she was like, actually he was here. He like sat on this couch because I think like Kim Kardashian had recorded her thing there and whatever. And so it was kind of awesome to be like, this is where Kanye was. And let's see, what was I gonna say? Oh, so on the last book, the people who were recording it wanted me to sort of test the sound. And so I was like, oh, well, I'll just sing the titles. And then they ended up actually being the titles, was me singing the titles, which was really embarrassing. That isn't this time around, which might be a little disappointing to some of you. But what was the good thing? Oh, there is an audio chapter that basically was a chapter that I was like, oh, this has to get in the book. And if you ever write a book, there's always like 5 chapters that you kind of go back and forth with your editor, and your editor's like, and you back and forth. And so this was one where I was like, oh, it's gotta go in. And when this one got cut, I was like, I'm just gonna read this on the audio chat. I didn't even tell anybody. I was like, oh no, this is part of the book. And the audio people were like, are you sure? I was like, yeah, totally sure. So yeah, there is a whole extra chapter on the audio that you get if you get the audio.
Britta Petrick just asked if you have any proteges.
Any proteges? I wouldn't really say proteges because I think of myself more as like a warning sign of like what not to do. But definitely there are a lot of people who I think are really amazing and wonderful, and who I'm super excited about seeing, you know, what they're coming up with, and I love to kind of hear what they're doing. Awesome Levy is one. She's fantastic. I would say Ali Brosh because she used to be, but now she's like super big deal awesome. And so, but she's fantastic and lovely and wonderful. And whenever I start to feel like the world is collapsing, I will DM her and be like, is everything okay? And she will say, yeah, no, but a little bit. Yeah, we're going to be okay. And that's a really lovely thing. Hi, Allie, you're watching. I honestly think of myself more as learning than teaching, because I'm really at the point where I get a lot of great advice and feedback from people who help me along, and I'm so extraordinarily lucky. And they have absolutely probably no clue that the advice that they give or the small pats on the back makes such an incredible difference, but they absolutely do.
I think, so Susie Q and Major Bedhead both lost someone that they knew this week, and I just would like to acknowledge it because there's a lot of talk. I think, from what I understand, her name was Stacy.
Mm-hmm.
Just that they're having a very serious conversation. I just wanted to have you know that was happening.
Yeah, I totally know what you're talking about, because I was friends with Stacy for years and years and years. She was old school blogger, and she's unfortunately no longer with us. And she listens to the lies that depression tells. But she also inspired a lot of people, and a lot of people are still here because of her, and they live on. And so the part of her that is beautiful and fun and inspirational continues to live on. But it is hard. There's something about September. I don't know what it is. I wrote a post once that said there's something about September that wants to eat you, and I absolutely think that it's true. I don't know if it's the lack of light or what it is, but I always feel like September is one of the hardest times. And so if you can reach out to someone, if you think that they seem sad or distant, it can really make a difference. But at the same time, you can't blame yourself if you can't save everybody. You can save the wonderful things that they bring into your life, and you can keep those things alive, but you can't blame yourself. And I've seen a lot of that on the internet this week, and I know it's hard to not second guess the things that we do. But all you can do is to do your best and to let people know that you're there for them, and that you're proud of every day that they have made it. And I have to say that a lot of times, one of the things that I think is the most frustrating is you see people who we lose to suicide, and people are like, oh, they failed. Like that's all they remember is, oh, Robin Williams killed himself, and that's the that he's this big tragedy. But you don't think about the fact that he dealt with mental illness for a long time and fought through it and did such amazing things. And you have to think of all of the wonderful days that he survived and pushed through, and all the wonderful things that he brought. So I think it's important to not look and say, well, if somebody isn't with us anymore, that they've failed, you have to look and say, look at all the people who are still here and look at how strong they are in surviving, and what can we do to reach out and to let them know that they're important.
I'm sorry, that was very nice. Sorry. I don't know what question to ask after that.
Okay.
Do you have any interest in writing a book for teens? Is a question that came up that I can't find right now, so I can't retweet it. But.
I actually totally do. I have these weird dreams sometimes, and then I wake up from the dream and I'm like, oh my God, there's this whole book and it's in my head and I have to, and I try to write it down as fast as I can, and usually I get like halfway through and then I'm like, something shiny, where's my ADD meds? And then I've lost it. But there is one book that, there's actually several, but there's one that's a teen book that I've sort of been working on, and honestly, I think that's a really good question for a lot of different reasons, because so often people say like, well, you know, why don't you write this and why don't you write that? And the thing is, I love to write short stories and poetry and all of that stuff. The thing is that I'm not very good at it. And that's not false modesty. I'm really not good at it, but I love to do it. And if you're a writer, you're going to write anyway. It's not going to be a matter of, well, it wasn't picked up or it wasn't published, or I may send something to my editor and she's like, oh, that was pretty shitty, you know, get back to your real job. What are you doing? Like, what are you doing? And that's okay. It's all right if, you know, maybe there's something that you love to do and you're not great at doing it, because if you keep trying, you know, maybe it'll work. And so maybe, fingers crossed, you will see my 3-part series. It will probably come out in 40 years because it's going to take me forever. But yes, eventually, I have a children's book. It's filled with profanity. Another children's book, which is not filled with profanity. Neither one of them have publishers. and the teen book, which, and you know what? It may just be, I may just publish them online and just be like, look, here you go. Here they are for free. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Some people think Rory One looks like he's attacking you and the viewers. I think it works.
It kind of does. But in a good way, in like a, I'm so happy to see you, I want to chew your face off with love. Like he's just whispering. You know what's really great about Rory 1 and Rory 2 is the American Girl furniture and clothes and stuff. And it's not American Girl, it's like the cheap Target version, like the knockoff, I don't know what it's called, next generation or something, I don't know. It's what I buy my daughter because we don't buy the expensive ones. It's the perfect size for these guys. And so I have all sorts of ridiculousness set up in just the middle of the night where I'm like, let's put a banjo on him. And we do photo shoots, and it's ridiculous, but it makes me happy. And actually probably when I go on tour, there's probably going to be some days when I'm like, I don't have enough time to write a post, and you'll probably see a lot of pictures of completely ridiculous photo shoots that Rory 1 and Rory 2 have been in, and the cats. The cats are often included, sadly.
There are a lot of questions about where John Stamos is and where he thinks he should be right now, only followed by questions about Victor, which we will press pause on for John Stamos.
So John Stamos, I think it's entirely possible that he's lurking. I'm not sure if he might be working today. I will say that he actually does follow me, so he probably did see me saying, hey, John Stamos, want to come to the worst orgy ever? And he didn't block me, which is good. That's better than, you know, what happened with William Shatner. Although I have to say, like, William Shatner like totally unblocked me and later was like, hello, sweetheart. And he was very, very nice. And I apologized for all of the prostitute jokes that I, made him block me. And Ooh, that was a long time ago, but we're good now. We're like this.
I think that we should remind people that when you're on tour, even if the space for the reading is quote unquote sold out, which should just be a book for ticket, that they can still get in the signing line to see you, that the signing lines are open to everyone. So anyone can come and see you at the signing line.
Yes.
That is a constant question.
That is a really good question. There's only one that I know of for sure, but there might be a couple where they're sold out. And basically what that means is there's a limited amount of space that they can have people in before it becomes like a code violation. When I do signings, I am very, very upfront, and all of the bookstores agree that as long as there's room, everybody can come. You don't have to buy a book there. You don't have to buy a book crawl. But when it comes to the point where they have a limited amount of space, then if you bought a book, then you're going to, definitely get a seat. And if there's not enough room, you're not going to be able to maybe see the reading. But technically, this is kind of saying a reading. You're not missing like a ton. Well, it's hard to tell. It's really hard to tell because some of them go a little bit crazy in a really good way and also a scary way. But I will always be there for signing, and I will stay as long as it takes. And whatever. If you want to bring, let's pretend this never happened, or if you want to bring a bookmark for me to sign, and you can put it in there. If you can't afford it now and you want to buy it later, that's totally cool. You don't have to buy anything to come to the signing. And I love having people there. And also I've had people who were like, are you okay if I have you sign more than one book? I'm like, yeah, please do that. That's wonderful. The best is when somebody comes up and they're like, hey, I'm buying 10 books because I'm going to buy them all for Christmas presents. I'm like, you're my best friend. Thank you. Do that. I love that.
And then on the tour, Wombat Central, the very prestigious Wombat Central,
Of course.
has asked if you have dark days on tour, does the tour help chase them away? And this is a popular question people want to know the answer to.
That is a really good question. I struggled a lot last tour, which was, 3 years ago? I overdid it, and I had a real problem with not being able to say no. And so I would sort of overextend myself. And then I would get really exhausted, and exhaustion brings on my rheumatoid arthritis flares up, and then it also, a lot of times, it will cause panic attacks, and once I have that, then usually that leads to depression. Probably the worst that I've ever had was I had a mild nervous breakdown, which they don't call it that anymore. They call it, what do they call it? Vital exhaustion. Was after one of my 2-week periods on tour. The really wonderful thing is, first of all, I've been able to recognize that I have limits and that it's okay to say no. The other great thing is I've been able to kind of set it out to where there's space in between, so that maybe there's a day off and then a reading and a day off and then a reading. And on those days off, instead of being like, oh, let's see the city, let's do this, let's do that, I will stay in my hotel room and recuperate. And it seems like an incredible waste of travel to go basically all over North America and never leave your hotel room. But what I found is that's what's going to keep me safe and healthy. The other great thing is that I have an amazing team behind me, and so they're going to travel with me. So like Marlena will be with me a great deal of the time. My editor's going to travel with me a little bit. My agent's going to travel with me a little bit. Victor and Haley are going to come up on some of the weekends, and there's never more than, it's usually like a week on, a week off, week on, week off. So I'm not away too much. And I've also done a lot of behavioral therapy and meditation and also changed some of my drugs up a little bit so that I have a little bit more, some better tools and light therapy and beta blockers and vitamin B12 and like all these things that before I was like, oh, that sounds crazy. And now I'm like, no, give me that. I want light therapy. Does that sound good? Yes, let me try that. And it works. So I'm going to be carrying a big lamp with me on tour, which is a little stupid, but you know what? If it works, use it.
People want to know why there's no sex at this orgy. I'll let you handle that.
Well, you know what? You can't see over there. Yeah, Victor just said not for you. But he's having a great time. And the cats are around. They might be having a fun. I don't know. On Real Tour, when I'm doing real readings, there's tons of sorry. There's a reason why this is called the worst orgy ever. I let you guys know right from the very beginning. Sorry.
Sorry, I got caught up in all the sex talk. I'm blushing over here.
Oh, yeah. Always caught up in the sex talk.
More questions about your animals. Can Dorothy Barker get on camera? It was that Ferris, I think it was. The animals are very popular.
Let's see. Dorothy Barker is upstairs with Haley, and Haley, of course, has to hide because there's some cursing going on. Plus, she's working on her homework. But let me yell and see if she'll let Dottie out. Haley! She probably has her earphones on.
Yes?
Would you let Dottie out, please?
People get ready.
Yeah.
Can I come downstairs?
No, I'm not quite done yet. Dottie needs to make her appearance. Okay. Thank you,
Yeah, there
honey.
she is.
Oh, come here.
Chair.
Come here. So she's all over the place. She's like, I will not let you pick
No,
me up.
no.
I'm gonna run.
Well, while we
You
wait
can
for her, we'll answer another
go
question.
anywhere. Okay.
Alana at Alana Be Like wants to know if you have any advice for other writers attempting to tackle this subject, especially with humor.
I would say it is not easy to write about, but it is worthwhile. Something that I wasn't really aware of is the fact that, and I should have seen it coming, but I didn't, but the fact that writing about this can be very triggering. And I would sometimes have to stop writing, particularly some of the impulse control disorder stuff. When I would write about it, there's something about writing about it and exploring it that can bring on some of those issues. So I think one of the most important things is giving yourself the opportunity to walk away from it at times, which is why this book took years to make. And the other important thing is having someone that you can ask for help. It's not common, but it has happened a few times in our marriage when I've gotten to the point where I've had to ask Victor for help and to say, I'm not in a really good place. I need you to watch me and to help me because I want to be safe. And I think that writing about this can sometimes bring on some unsafe feelings, but at the same time, I have to say there is something so amazingly wonderful about writing about this terrible monster and finding a way to laugh at it, and it makes it smaller and more manageable. And also to be able to close the chapter on that thing. Even if you're still dealing with it and you're still having to deal with the repercussions or still having to suffer through it, being able to put it all down on paper and say, this is what it's like for me. Maybe not for you, but this is my path and this is why I do what I do. It's wonderful therapy. you just have to kind of be careful about it. Oh. Dottie, are you ready for a close-up? Hello. Hi. Oh, so excited. Oh, okay, I know. I'm so excited. Oh, we're so excited. All right, so this is Dorothy Barker, and she's also called Dottie. And Hunter, she's like, you smell strange, mommy. Sorry. Hunter S. Tomcat is hiding in the drapes. Ferris Bueller is around here somewhere. I think you saw his tail. Raleigh, I have no idea. I'm really surprised she's not up here on this table knocking shit off because that's what she does.
Who's at your feet? Is that fun?
Oh, that's Raleigh.
Oh, that's Raleigh there.
Hi. Hi. She's like, I don't want to come out. Look how good you are. Oh, she's so good. And she's just a snuggler. This is late for her. She's a sleepy dog. Whenever she gets really tired, her ears start to flop over because normally they're straight up. Now she's just like, whatever. If she could see you guys, she'd be freaking out because she loves people, but she's just like, I don't know why my mom's talking to herself. I think she's fucking crazy. Oh, she's right. She's right.
Well, while you're talking to yourself, maybe some book suggestions of things you read lately or authors that you love.
Good question. Do you want to go to your daddy? Daddy? Look at you. You're like, I'm not going to get on.
There's his
camera.
arm.
He does exist. He really
Wow,
does. Let's see. I have been reading. Oh my gosh, I've been reading a lot of stuff lately. I'm rereading Empty Mansions, which is such a good book. I am reading Scalzi's last book, which I have here somewhere, and I've lost it. I don't know, it's somewhere. Sorry. He's fantastic. You should read all of his stuff. Let's see, what else have I been reading? I just finished Kindred by Octavia Butler. It was really good, and I finished The Martian at the same time. I got dog hair in my mouth, sorry. And it was good, but it was kind of mathy. It makes me sound stupid, but there was a lot of math involved, and it was good. It was good. And what else? This is Raleigh. You may recognize her as the cat who was sitting on my toweled head a million years ago, because whenever I would put my hair up in a towel, she would like to sit on top of it. She's insane. And then I got a whole bunch of books from the thrift store, including this one that was so good. Wait, hold on a second. Let me get it because it was incredible.
Okay, I'll just make Rory get closer. Floating Rory. I'm having a misspell.
Okay, so I got this book day before yesterday, and you probably can't even get it anymore because I got it at the thrift store. It was like $7, but it's called Under Glass, and it's like all this great taxidermy, like a weird Victorian taxidermy, like frogs dueling, and of course I can't find any of the good ones, and like the memento mori stuff, and so good. So anyway, you have a chance. Really, what is this? This is some sort of I can't see upside down. So yeah, it's just weird stuff that's under glass, like Victorian shell work. And I'm sorry, I'm boring you. You're like, really? Victorian shell work? That's what does it for me. Sorry. Yeah.
So there is a question by Kat that a lot of people have responded to, which is, how do you deal with online trolls? They're awful and I hate them, says Kat. I don't like them either, but that's specifically from Kat.
Good question. I think we have a tendency to use the word troll like we overuse it. A lot of times you just have critics, and that's not really the same thing. Most of the time, if somebody comes in and they say something that's you know, like, I don't think you're very funny, or you're ugly, or like whatever, I typically just say, everything that you've said, I've already said better. Here's a link to it. And the great thing about that is that it kind of lets everybody in my audience know it doesn't bother me, and so they're not distracted. Because if you focus on like the 1 or 2 people who are like, you know, you should do this better, or you say too much, or whatever, then everybody else will focus on that instead of the post that you wrote, or the book that you wrote, or whatever it is, and that's what you want to focus on. So that's one. If I have a for real, true troll, and for me, like a real troll is, and I do occasionally get them, would be somebody who's like, you should be raped to death, or, you know, something like that. Typically what I will do is, anytime somebody leaves a comment and it's the first time they've left a comment, my computer automatically puts it in moderation. And so I'll go in and I'll see it, and I'll leave their name, but then I'll change it from "you should be raped to death" to "I wish I could be more like you. You're exactly the person that I want to be." And what'll happen is that they'll come back because they want to see you like cry, and they'll come back and they'll be like, "I never fucking said that. I didn't say that at all. I never said that." And I'll change that to "I wish I could wear your skin as a jacket," and I'll just keep doing it until they go away. I've never had someone come back more than 3 times. They give up. They don't want, like, they just get bored. Or if it's something that's mean-spirited, but maybe they still have a point, I'll leave it in there, but I'll go in and I'll change like some of their words and misspell them so that they can't go like, "Look what I just said to her," without being like, "Shit, I misspelled all that? Did I do that?" And then they question themselves. The way that I look at it is, it's okay if you want to say bad things about me, but you're going to entertain me if you're going to do it. So that's the way that I look at it.
Holly Grail has asked many, many good questions. I'm just going to choose one.
Okay.
Which is, what's the weirdest thing you've ever signed?
The weirdest thing I've ever signed, let's see. I've signed a lot of babies, which is, I guess that's probably not that weird because there's been more than one of them. I signed a sheep's brain. Somebody asked me to sign a kitten, and I didn't. Let's see. Oh, I know. I signed someone's tongue. And there's pictures of it too, which I was just like, "No, surely you're joking." And she was not joking. She was like, "No, really, sign my tongue." And I did. It didn't look great, but she was happy. And you know what? That's all that matters. And I don't think she died. I think that matters. That's important too. It was a Sharpie. I don't know. I don't think that they're poisonous. Maybe they are. It's hard to know.
I don't think they are.
I think she's still alive, I think.
People want to know if you'll sign the audiobook.
Totally. Oh my gosh,
Totally.
totally. Have you seen the audiobook? Like the discs have little Rorys on them. They're so cute. I haven't heard it because I hate my voice. But I've had a bunch of people today who are like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't want to get out of the car because I was so busy listening to it." So hopefully.
Your book that you're clutching that you got for a steal is $90 right now on Amazon.
Holy
So
shit,
people
really?
are very impressed.
Oh my god, go to
With your
Half Price
bargain.
Books, $7.95. Oh, this is the Half Price Books.
Which she will be at in Dallas.
Exactly. It was really funny because Marlena, she's not from the South, so she was like, "Half Price Book, what is this?" And I was like, "Half Price Books, everyone loves Half Price Books," which I probably shouldn't, because like if you buy something from Half Price Books, they're usually like used books, and so the author doesn't get anything, but whatever.
Let's see. Someone here, and I lost it, I'm going to find it again, asked if you've seen The Labyrinth, everyone's favorite movie.
Oh my god, I love that. I mean, I could quote it.
Favorite movie, and My Sexual Awakening. And if you, how long you think it would take to get through The Labyrinth?
Oh, the actual
Mhm.
Labyrinth? You know what? I wouldn't. There were so many times when I was just like, just stop and stay with Jared. Like, what are you doing?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The right answer.
Yes. Like, in the end, she's like, "Oh, and I get to go back to high school and, you know, having a stepmom with issues," and like that. In no way is that better. than being in the and he's singing to you, and even the cod piece, you're just like, yes!
Be your slave.
Oh
He
my
says
God.
it.
He loves her. It's not even like he's like, well, I'm gonna turn you into it. He's like, whatever. Like, you could have had the baby too. You could have been like, send the baby back to my family. He'd have been like, if for you anything.
I know it. Okay, I'm not hot and bothered again. Oh, Bianca asked that question, so I'm gonna retweet her right now. Very good question, in my estimation. More requests for Victor to tap dance.
You know what? He would not tap dance, but I will say that if Janet Jackson came on right now, he would absolutely do that. Like, 4. I can't do it. But I've seen him do it on several occasions, and so have several other bloggers. And then later he's like, "What? No, that's not true." It's completely true, and I'm gonna get it on video one day.
I lost the question. It was actually honestly an hour ago, so I apologize. But someone asked how your family feels about you writing about them, specifically Victor.
My family for the book, for the blog, for anything, anytime that I've ever written about them, they get to see it before it's published, and they have the complete ability to say, I don't want that there. They don't even have to give a reason. It's more important to me that they're happy. What's really wonderful is I've never had a single person say, don't write that. Instead, they're the ones who say, oh my God, I can't believe you didn't write about this and this and this. And then I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't either. That's going to be a great part. They actually make it so much better. There are some things that I don't write about. I don't write about fights that Victor and I are currently still having. They have to be resolved fights. I don't write anything that I think a mean 14-year-old girl can use against Haley. I don't write anything where I'm not the biggest butt of the joke. And I don't write anything that I wouldn't feel comfortable defending if I needed to. And for the most part, people are really cool about wanting to share their story as long as it's told with love. And I think I try to, with all of my stuff, to tell everybody's story in a way that makes them happy, even if it's something where they might go, oh, that's really embarrassing. But in the end, they go, oh, okay, all right, that's fine.
Turtle Song 17 asks, says, everyone is safe. Choose one book and one piece of taxidermy to save before your house is time locked. I imagine everyone also includes pets, because otherwise that's not fair.
Oh, yeah.
Pets are safe. They're ones.
Okay, let's see. So one piece of taxidermy. Wow, that would be really hard. And one book. Okay, I guess the one piece of taxidermy would be James Garfield, who's a giant boar head, who you'd have to go to the blog and actually read about it because it's so ridiculous. But basically, he has inspired, I think we're up to like $250,000 given to charity because of this ridiculous looking, horrific, hi, James Garfield, I love you, boar's head, which just makes me so happy because he's this enormous smile, and he was like I think he's pretty much one of the first taxidermied animals I ever got. The one book, holy crap, that is really a great question. You know what, I have a, Victor bought me, when my first book came out, he bought me a copy of Hunter S. Thompson's Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and it's signed by him, and it's written to this person who is about to get married, who was I think it was like his nephew or something like that, and it basically just says like, marriage is for chumps, and it makes me laugh every time I look at it, and it's lovely and wonderful, and that's probably what I would say.
I just tweeted it, but people are asking if they're hearing a bird, and I believe it's Dorothy Barker.
So it is. It's Dorothy Barker. She does this, and it sounds like a bird. It also sounds really annoying in the middle of the night. It sort of sounds like your fire alarm is out of batteries, except I just recently realized that I haven't heard that noise in the entire time that we've lived here, which kind of makes me think that possibly we don't have fire alarms. So that's my reminder to myself that I kind of need to look for them.
I'm going to remind you later.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I mean, that seems like it's something that should come with a house.
Feels it's
right?
important. It's a nice house. You would think bare minimum it would be set to go up.
It's been around since the 80s. It's not like somebody just made it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
Yeah, we're going to look into that.
That'd be good.
Melissa, who is Psychobabble Fun, asks, have you ever written about something publicly that you regretted?
Oh, good question. There was one time, and I can't even remember what exactly it was, but there was one time that I wrote years ago something on the blog, and people were upset about it. I can't remember what it was. It wasn't something awful, but it was something where they were like, that's a little over the line. And so I was like, okay, well, if it really bothers you, I'll take it off. And all of the people who said, it's a little over the line came back and they were like, you know what? I changed my mind. I changed my mind. That which you should be able to write about anything. It's done with love. It's fine. It's okay. But I wrote a little thing that said, you know, that there were a couple people who were a little concerned, and that if this bothers you, let me know. You don't even have to tell me why, but if it bothers you, I'll take it off. And like 2 days go by and everybody's like, no, leave it on. It's awesome. It's great. And then this one person came, and it was the only time she ever commented, and she never commented again. I think she just like sort of found the blog and she was like, I don't think this was very funny. I think you should take it off. So I was like, okay. So I took it off. And all the people who before were like, over the line, were like, how dare you let somebody pressure you into like giving up your voice? That's your voice. You get to say what you want to say. That's the whole point of being a writer. And so after that, I decided that I would not ever delete anything that I had up. That instead, if there was something that I later felt like, oh, you know, I've grown, or I've changed, or I thought this was okay, but maybe it's not, then maybe I just have like a little addendum that just says, this isn't necessarily something I'm as proud of, you know, but people change. So I think really it's less that I regretted writing it, it's more that I regretted bowing to someone else's idea of what was or what wasn't funny.
Dash of Face asks you, if you could get rid of your mental anxiety issues but couldn't write again, would you make that choice? I think that's a really good question.
That is a great question, and I absolutely would not. I really do think, you know, I kind of go back and forth where it's like, well, if you struggle with mental illness, does that make you feel like you have to, you know, find these other outlets? And that's the reason why so many people with mental illness often are artistic or musical or whatever. Or is it, does the mental illness cause you to have that? I have no idea. I don't know, you know, which came first or if it's even related. But I do know that my anxiety and my depression and my mental illness make me specifically the person that I am. And they make me much more sympathetic and empathetic. And I have the ability to sort of put myself in other people's shoes in a way that I think maybe some other people can't. And I think that that has made me who I am. And maybe at the time when I'm really deep in an anxiety attack or a depression, I might waver a little bit on that choice. But when I'm out of depression and I'm not currently dealing with an anxiety disorder, I absolutely know that I would not change. In fact, my psychiatrist has been talking about this new, I don't know, this thing where you like put magnets on your head. I don't know what it is, but like supposedly after, I don't know, like 5 different antidepressants don't really work for you, which I think I'm like on the 6th one or whatever. You're supposed to do this thing with the magnets and it like redoes your head. I don't know what it does. Sorry. And part of me was like, God, wouldn't that be great to not have to take medication for the rest of my life and not have to deal with depression? And another part of me was like, well, but this is me. Like, how awful would that be to think that you're fixing yourself, but then you turn into somebody who you don't want to be. I don't think I have a good answer for that, but that's my answer. Sorry.
This you can totally blame me, the voice in the background, but people are asking if the book tour is set, and it sort of is, that there will maybe be a paperback tour down the line. There will be other opportunities, but this tour is going on through December, and I just don't think we can add anything to it. But we know Kalamazoo exists, and it's a lovely place.
Yes, yes. And I will say, I've had a lot of people who are like, but you live in San Antonio. Why won't you do a San Antonio book signing? And it's entirely possible that that I may just like get on Twitter one day and be like, hey, I'm going to be at Half Price Books down the road, or, you know, just do some like ninja signing. And same thing, you know, if we're doing layovers or something at an airport and we're stuck somewhere, I may be like, hey, go to this airport. I'm going to sign a whole bunch of books. So it's possible. We probably won't add anything, but definitely, you know, if you're following along on Twitter, there's a lot of times that I stop at airports and stuff and do impromptu signings and all that fun stuff. And there's always the paperback, so.
And then B Money, B like Buzz, says this goes way back, but did anyone buy you your tequila gun?
No one bought me my tequila gun, which is probably for the best, because it was, oh my God, that was so long ago. It was this rifle. It was enormous. It was this big glass rifle, and the rifle was like a bottle, and it was filled with tequila. And so not only is that like so Texas, but also the cork was like where the end of the gun muzzle thing. So like to drink it, you put, I mean, it was so like, so this is what alcohol does to you. You know, oh Jesus.
It's Exhibit A.
This is what happens when you shop at night. Apparently you do buy tequila guns. This is a tequila pistol. In my defense, it's not quite the same thing.
God.
I was talking about the rifle. This is the, Jesus, what is wrong with me?
Oh my God.
But I will have, like, look at this. Look, see, not even opened. I don't have a problem. I say as I'm holding a tequila gun that I didn't know I bought.
That was
Thanks,
amazing.
Victor.
That was amazing. Victor doesn't need to appear now because he just rolled this entire thing.
Yeah, that was the rickroll.
A lot of people want you to know that your fire detectors are probably hardwired, and that's why you don't hear the chirp. There's been a lot of people responding about that.
Oh, okay, that totally makes sense. Okay.
And then Douglas Wolf asked if Tom Cruise plays Victor, who would play you in the movie of your life?
I like Mindy Kaling because I think we have similar voices, but she's like got other stuff to do. I like, oh my gosh, what is her name? She's on You're the Worst. She's not the main character. She's like the best friend character. And her name is either Heather or Keither. And I don't know. I don't know. And this is the sad thing is I tweeted her and I was like, I think you're lovely. Do you pronounce your name like you're mispronouncing Heather or like you're mispronouncing?
Oh, Heather Donahue. Or Keither Donahue.
And she told me the right one and I totally forgot. But I think she's fantastic. I love her. But like super ideally, Amy Poehler, just because I want to hang out with her. I don't think, I'm sure she could do it. She's very talented. But I don't think she would want to because she seems smarter than this.
No, she's just too busy right now. She'll come around.
That's right.
The audiobook and the ebook should all be out today as well to people that are asking that.
Yes.
And then a lot of people are asking various questions about Beyonce, not the singer. I think you know who we're talking about. If you just want to address Beyonce's situation.
Beyonce the giant metal chicken. Beyonce still lives here. He's on the back porch, and he lost a leg, which was disconcerting. It was a rough time for everyone involved, but he has been re-welded, and he looks out into the backyard, and he's wonderful. Except that he's been outside so much that he's starting to. The sun is getting rid of its colors. I don't know what the word is. It's not sun damage.
Fading?
So, fading, yes, fading. Thank you, Victor.
We've gotten He should, and he's gotten
I
really
know,
smart.
right? He's like, Jesus, what's wrong with these women? God. But anyway, so now Beyonce is like almost a pastel sort of like palette, you know, it's very spring.
Let's
Oh my
see.
gosh, I love that there are 1,600 people. Like, we've been doing this for an hour and 40 minutes.
That's also,
That is
there's another
fantastic.
1,000 on YouTube.
What?
So it is happening.
I love you guys. This is seriously, I mean, even if you weren't here, this would still be the most people I've ever had in my house because Marlena and John are here. But then add to that, that
It's
is
2,600 people.
that is insane. Oh my gosh.
People are asking again about your book tour because we've been talking about it. So just about an hour ago, the tour dates were retweeted, the link, so people can look on your Twitter feed and see all the fun places that we will be hitting up.
Yes, and if you just type in Furiously Happy Tour, it'll come up and it'll have all the stuff. And I want to say Boston is the only one that maybe sold out.
I'm hearing Nashville on Twitter as well.
Oh,
So I
Nashville
will look
maybe
into
too.
that, but even if the space, it's a very nice problem that Jenny's so
It is
popular,
nice.
the space might be gone, but people can still get in line and meet you.
Yes, yeah, you can absolutely come and do the signing and all that. Just, you know, show up 20 minutes late, and well, actually probably a little bit later than that because usually the signing takes a while. As a matter of fact, a lot of people will come and they'll like listen to the reading and then they'll leave for half an hour and then come back because sometimes the signing line can take a while. So even if you're like, oh, I'm not gonna be able to make it because I'm gonna, you know, be 45 minutes late or whatever, that's okay. I usually am there for an hour or two when I'm doing a signing.
People are making fun of us because we didn't know the word fading. I'm going to say they're making fun of you, but I should have had that too.
I mean, I can't be expected to know that. I'm just a writer.
The Victor fan club is out.
Team Victor. It's just Victor. It's a Victor in the back.
He's just tweeting
He's
wildly.
yeah. He's like, I'm just gonna make a bunch of ghost
Oh.
accounts.
Oh my God. Someone is asking if you get altitude sickness, and this is Agent Unicorn is asking, not someone. If you get altitude sickness, and can they bring you anything to make it easier for you in Denver?
Oh my gosh, that's so lovely.
That's lovely.
I haven't so far. I went with Victor to Japan, and we went to the top of, well, not the top of. We went up on Mount Fuji. I'm gonna say Fuji. I don't know
Uh-oh.
geography. I've already had to admit this once today.
It was really good.
It was horribly embarrassing. What's in Japan? Is that Mount Fuji?
Japanese people.
Japanese people. Yes, Japanese people are there. But
Yes, Fuji.
okay, yeah. And so we went like pretty high on that, and I didn't get sick, so I think I'll be okay. But thank you.
Let's see, what other, Christy Palmer wants to know if you're ever gonna come to the UK. Are there plans?
I totally want to. I've never been there, but I want to go for a bunch of different reasons, but in a really embarrassing way. I really want to do the whole like Doctor Who experience. I don't even know if that's still a thing, but I've seen it online, and I'm like, oh, I totally want to do that. And I am a giant fan of cemeteries, and the UK knows how to do cemeteries. And I don't know if you can like take credit for that because it's really just like a bunch of dead people, but still, good job, UK, because ours, they're okay. They're, you know, like the California ones, like the Hollywood ones are kind of okay, but we don't have anything like England where the history comes from.
Where the spookiness is.
Yes.
Gina, this is a comment, not a question. But Gina W wanted to see if you can feel the golden love of all your fans raining down on you. And then wanted to clarify it's not a golden shower.
I was just about to say. Yeah. I can feel the warmth of your golden shower. That, you know what, that's going to end up as a gift somewhere.
Nicely done, Gina. Do you have any airport horror stories that you want to share?
Oh my God, I have, you know, I
That's
have,
Millie's. I'm sorry, that's Millie's. I just like to give credit to you asked.
I do, I have a ton, but I have to say I'm a big fan of the Louis C.K. train of thought of like, worst case scenario, like you got in a chair and it flew in, you know, through the sky and it was this miracle, and you know, you're complaining that you didn't get peanuts or whatever. So most of the time, even if something happens and I'm like, oh, this is really shitty, It's usually not that big of a deal. The worst things that happen are always the best things that happen, because it's always about halfway through that I'm like, this is going to be so funny one day. Like, this is going to make a great chapter. And every time that I get stuck in an airport for like 6-7 hours, and that ends up being the time that I get stuck on Twitter and come up with something that is entertaining and fun. And so yeah, I sort of feel like as long as I don't die, I win in the end.
So there are a lot of people who want to go in deep on Doctor Who. I'm trying to think if there could be a 5-minute Doctor Who question off or something, or if you just want to express your most, hot takes on Doctor Who, but people really want to know everything about you and your relationship with Doctor Who.
Well, I will say that I am an enormous fan, and I try to get all my friends to watch it, and it doesn't work, because the thing is, and if you're watching this and you're like, oh, Doctor Who, it's so stupid, you probably have not seen 3 of them, because you watch the first one and you're like, this is weird, and then you watch the second one and you're like, this is stupid, and then you watch the third one and you're like, I will never stop watching this show. And I don't know why it's like that. I watched the first 2 too, and I was like, whatever, and it took me a year to get back, and I was like, okay, I guess so. And now I'm like, there are such amazing truths in Doctor Who that you just, I would highly recommend, if you don't know Doctor Who, Blink is an excellent way to start, even though technically the Doctor's not really in there. It's probably not a great example, but also Vincent and the Doctor, which is about the Doctor going to visit Vincent Van Gogh, and actually talks a lot about depression and suicide, and there is something both tragic and sad and also incredibly beautiful about that episode. And on more than one occasion, when I'm really, really struggling, I will go back and watch it, and it will remind me that that there's a reason why all of us are here, even if we sometimes doubt it.
So Shelly M. Leach is asking you if the traveling red dress is going to come to Nashville.
Oh my gosh. So the traveling red dress has just almost fallen to tatters. At one point, the woman who made it was remaking it, but she's having some issues, and so I'm not really sure if that's going to happen. The traveling red dress still goes on, though, and it's typically people who have, because we sent out, oh my gosh, I mean, there were so many people. You'd have to go to the blog to hear the whole story, because it would take too long, but there were hundreds of red dresses that were sent kind of around the world, and are still sort of sent around. It's a little harder to find them. I used to track it on Facebook, and I got distracted with the book and everything else. And so now it's more of a personal kind of thing, where if you know somebody who knows somebody, and people just saying like, hey, I have a red dress, and you'll see, if you look for some of the hashtags, you'll see on Facebook people saying like, hey, I've got one of the traveling red dresses. Do you want to wear it? Is there something special going on? In fact, I think I may even have one of them here. I'll have to look and see. If I do, I'll put a picture of it up on Facebook, and whoever needs to feel special can have it. Pass it on.
So this is going back, so if you're just tuning in, this is going to be confusing, but Kathleen Flippin wanted you to know that the London Underground route had to be moved because of the piles of ancient bodies buried under London.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, that is pretty awesome. I just thought you needed to know that too.
I've heard that you cannot put a spade into anywhere in London without digging up a body, which I guess makes sense. That seems a little unsettling, but also kind of awesome.
Amazing.
Right?
Yeah. More cries for Victor. Scanning through.
Victor.
So what?
We would like you to do a Janet Jackson dance. Oh, come on.
Just the choreographed one you've been working on.
Right? Miss Jackson, if you're nasty, come on. What was the one? What was the 5? 4? I can't do it. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, he does.
Someone else, Erica here, also demands that Victor make you a hot toddy because they think your voice is going to go. It's 2 hours in.
It will eventually, but actually, I kind of like it when it starts to get raspy and
Kathleen Turner action.
Kathleen Turner. That's exactly right. It's like a throaty bedroom voice, and I sort of really like it.
We're getting a lot of comments. Let me see if any more exciting questions on here. Victor is supporting and laughing at you, so you're being heard if not seen.
Yeah.
Someone just did the dress in Nashville.
Awesome.
How about this? This is a great one from Delaney. You bring a lot of people together, like the James Garfield group from Christmas. Did you expect this when you started writing?
Not at all. There have been so many things that we've done with James Garfield. I think this Christmas, if we do it again, will be the maybe 5th annual or 6th annual. And it's just something where we just kind of come up with the thing and say like, hey, why don't we help homeless kids? Or if you're having a problem this year and you can't buy toys for your kids, send in your wish list, and if anybody wants to sponsor you, they can. And it's so fantastic to be able to watch it, because not only do you get to see people who are saying like, I've never had to ask for help before, but I feel like I need to. And those people are the people who come back next year who say, hey, are you going to do this again? Because this year I'm doing really well and I want to sponsor somebody. What's also really amazing is how often I would set somebody up with, a sponsor, or maybe 2 sponsors because maybe they had several kids, and the person would email me back and say, you know what, they sent me Amazon gift cards and they actually sent me too much. Can I sponsor somebody with this extra card? And it was, it's so amazing. If you have the chance to go back and read the responses of the people who are helping, the people who are asking for help, it is amazing. I think what's even more amazing is, it's always thousands and thousands of comments. And what's sort of fantastic is it's typically more people asking, can I help? Can you set me up with a total stranger so that I can help them in some way? Can you set me up with Project Night Night, which is a big thing that we did where we helped homeless kids, give them books and stuffed animal and like security blanket. And there are so many things where, especially with, like one time I was like, hey, why don't we do, I don't even know how to pronounce it, heifer, I don't know. But it's the thing where you sponsor like an animal and you give it to somebody who needs it or whatever. And I was like, what's really great is if you have somebody that you hate, you can buy them half of a donkey and like literally like here's half of an ass, or just like send them bees or whatever, but they don't get the bees, like people who need them get the bees, whatever. But what was amazing is there were so many people who did that heifer, I'm sorry, I'm not pronouncing it correctly. They were like, you're a new ambassador. And they sent me this big, like, certificate and everything. And I was like, that's so awesome. I don't even know how to pronounce your name. But it's so lovely, and it's so wonderful to be part of a community where people just want so desperately to help other people because they've been in positions where they've struggled. In fact, when I wrote recently, I did if you saw the book trailer of the Broken Furiously Happy, which you should totally watch because it's amazing. And actually,
we'll retreat it right now.
Okay, yeah. When I wrote it, there were a couple of people who said, I can't wait to buy your book. I'm kind of struggling right now, but I'm going to as soon as I have money. And there were all these people who were like, well, I'll help you. You know, I know what it's like to be, you know, to be struggling. I'll send you a copy, and all of these people offering to help. And what was really lovely is I didn't even see those people. So I had already emailed the people to say, like, I'll send you some, like, I'll send you a copy. And they were like, oh, okay, well, this other person's gonna send it to me. I'll have them send it to this other person who really needs it. And of course, it just, I don't know, I guess kindness begets kindness and all of that fun stuff.
Oh, wait, a million good questions came in, and then I thought I'd multitask. So hang on, let me let me stop trying to think I can do all that. Let's see. Oh, here's someone. Casey is asking if they can't make it to the book tour. Can they buy a book somewhere and have it signed? Very good question.
That is a really, really good question. Well, there's two things. One is I think there might be some more book plates available. I don't actually know if they've actually sent them out yet. I don't think that they have, because I haven't seen anybody say anything about them, but they may be like toward the end of it. But there is a link to, I can't remember the post. I want to say it's something like, will an autographed copy of my book be worth $1 million? Probably not. And it has links to a whole bunch of different stores, tons of them indie stores who have signed copies of the book. I actually, I don't have a copy myself of that particular one, and so I went on and tried to buy it, and they were out in several different places. And then, but I know Books A Million has them, and I know several of the indie stores still have them, and I saw a bunch of people who like tweeted pictures of them, so I know they're coming in. So yes, you can still buy autographed copies, but those are really limited. A lot of those indie stores only got like 3 or 4. So you may have to call around, but a lot of those places will mail them to you, even if they're not your local place.
Also call a store that Jenny might be going to and see if you can get them
Yes.
to reserve one. Sometimes that works before she gets there.
Yes, a lot of stores will do that. They'll just have like extra stock there. And then as soon as I leave, they're like, okay, we've got all these autographed copies. We can send them out. So yes.
More than 5 questions have come in the last couple minutes about your dolls. If you wanted to explain, talk, discuss, introduce.
So these are, I have lots of different types of dolls, but the ones that sort of started my collection are these Blythe dolls. They are, let's see, I'll show you this one. She's one of my favorites. So they came out like in the 70s, I think. And nobody wanted them. I wanted them. I kept seeing them in like comic books, and I couldn't afford them. But then they became popular again, and then they started making them in Japan, and then people started taking them and making like custom Blythe dolls. So like this is a custom doll. So like each one of the dolls, see that little line right there where it looks like she had a, I don't know, lobotomy, but something like that. You can actually, I'm not gonna do it, but you can pull it off. Like each one of these, you can replace the hair and do different like wigs and stuff. And then what's really cool, watch me break her. So she opens and closes her eyes. Nope, I'm doing this wrong. But yeah, I'm gonna completely break this. You know what? I'm not gonna change this one. Hold on a second. Let's do, how about this one? All right, we'll do this one instead. So she has like a little thing on her back somewhere, a little pulley. And so when you pull the pulley, her eyes change color and they change the way that they're looking. And you can sand down their faces and like redo their makeup. And it is ridiculous. But you know what? Ridiculous things make me happy. And I got Haley into it, and we actually went to a Blythe conference. So I like missed a blogging conference, but instead I went to a doll conference because that's where my life is. And I'm making weird choices. But but they make me very happy. You can get them on on Amazon and places like that. A lot of these come from Japan because Victor travels all the time to Japan for his work, and so when he comes back, he brings me a doll to say, sorry that you had to take care of Bailey all by yourself for an entire week, and it's always a week that I disappear, and then she gets like scarlet fever, or the house catches on fire, or whatever. Those things haven't happened, but they probably will.
Without going too deep back into the world of Who, if you were going to be a character, this is from Addie, ADI, if Doctor Who wanted you to be in an episode, who or what would you want your character to be, a companion, a villain, or you?
That's a really good question. You know what I think is really interesting about the Doctor Who companions is when I travel, I get sick. Like, not a lot, but if you're out and you're traveling for a couple of weeks, there's going to be a day or two when you're not feeling so well. But have you ever noticed that the companions on Doctor Who, none of them ever get traveler's diarrhea? And they are fucking everywhere. They're like, oh, let's go hang out in Paris with open sewers in like the 1800s, and let's go. And you never see them where they're like, you know what, I can't go out today because I have diarrhea. I don't even think they go to the bathroom. So I'm going to say I want to be a companion because how nice would it be to never have to go to the bathroom again?
It would be amazing.
Oh my God, it would be the best.
What are Oods?
Oods are these,
I want to be them. Are they villains?
No. I mean, they seem like they are, but they're really not.
I want to be a nude.
Oods are the best.
It's Heifer, like Hugh.
Oh, okay.
It says Raven. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing that right. Douglas Wolfe, who I know we answered something earlier, but we're going to do it again, said, what's the last thing that had you laughing so hard you were in tears?
Oh, good question. My friend Miley Wilson and her husband Jason, Miley makes those bags, the Epiphany bags. If you've ever seen me on tour and you've ever seen me with a bag and you're like, oh, look at that pretty bag, it's an Epiphany bag that I've stolen from her. They live right down the street from us, and so we go out with them, and it was Victor's birthday the other day, and they decided to give him a chimpanzee mask. Why? I have no idea. And so, of course, he put it on in the middle of the restaurant and ordered food, and the poor waitress was just like, what the seriously? Why? And it was absolutely fantastic. And I almost peed myself. It was so funny. It's kind of one of those, and it's really funny. Like, so often something will happen and it's so funny that I just cannot even handle it. And Victor's like, you need to write about this. And I'm like, I can't make it funny. Like, it's really funny to live at the time, but it doesn't translate to paper. And what's interesting is just the opposite, where something will happen and we're just having a normal conversation. And I'm like, don't talk for a minute. I need to write everything down. And everybody that I'm with is like, why? This isn't funny. But it is funny. They just haven't looked at it in the way that I look at it.
A lot of people need to go to bed, and they're saying that they're sorry they have to go. So I just want to do a Jenny check and make sure how Jenny's feeling.
I'm pretty much I'm feeling you, because I'm halfway done with my unicorn minces, and also this paper straw is like, look at this, look how gross this is. Why do people use paper straws? This is so stupid.
It's like just roll up a napkin and use that.
Right? This is or like $1 bill.
It's all
Why
tiny.
would you do this? I don't. Somebody gave me these, and thank you. I mean, like, really, that's very nice and everything, but I don't understand them. I mean, they're pretty, I guess, but there's soggy shit in my drink. I'm gonna say no to this. I want plastic. Oh, it's probably better for the environment.
Maybe, but it's still waste. I mean, you could also sip with your mouth. That's the best.
I could sip with my. This is why she's gonna travel with me. You can just use your mouth. You're right. I
like to bring some logic sometimes. I don't know fading, but I know how to use a straw.
That's all we need. That's all we need. Oh my gosh. But no, I totally get it. We've been doing this for for 2 hours, and I know you don't want to feel like you missed anything because I don't want to feel like that either. So I will probably sign off and say thank you so much. Thank you for coming. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting the book. Thank you for being here and listening, and for helping me, because this book would not have happened if I didn't have people encouraging me, if I didn't have people giving me feedback, and if I didn't have the support of the community. And there's no way that I can ever say thank you enough. But I absolutely, with all my heart, want to say that you made this book happen, and I appreciate it. So, without further ado, I think we'll log off to the night. Oh,
She'll go back to being in charge of her own Twitter.
exactly. And if we end up going to the monkey house, which I doubt we will because I'm a little sleepy, but if it happens, I will totally be writing about it and putting up pictures and all that stuff. And tomorrow we're in Austin?
Tomorrow we're in Austin, and then there's a day off, and then Dallas and Houston.
Yes.
The weekend is evading me a little bit, but then next week Atlanta, Nashville, and Miami.
Yes. So
It's happening.
all sorts of fun stuff. I'm so excited. So anyway, so come, and if you're afraid of coming to a reading, I totally get it, because I'm afraid of coming to readings and I'm doing the reading. But I will say that there are tons of people who come alone, and they never feel alone when they're there, because everyone feels sort of alone and weird. And you look around and you realize that everybody's got spatulas and metal chickens and raccoons and just weirdness, and they're wearing pajamas or a red ball gown, or in some cases nothing, and then the police comes, but whatever. So I highly suggest it, but at the same time, if you feel like you cannot make it to your reading, that is totally okay, because guess what? You just did, and I'm very proud of you, and I'm proud of us, and I'm proud of all, I don't even know, 3,000 of us that we did this.
It's amazing.
Yay, high five! All right, so good night, everyone.